Welcome to my rendering breakdown video of Bioshock. It's a 2007 released game on PC, Xbox 360. PlayStation 3 version was released later, but this is the updated version, which was released in 2016. It is using the DirectX 11 API, and the previous versions were using the DirectX 9 or 10, and it's using a modified version of the Unreal Engine 2.5. So let's begin breaking down our frame. Let's scroll to the beginning. Okay, so we have an empty scene, and at the beginning we already start to render the main scene for the camera. Every object is rendered in a forward rendering manner with constant ambient lighting first. This generates the depth buffer as well, and later it will render the objects once more for each light. So it's a traditional forward rendering light system. It means that first we render just the colors with a constant ambient lighting term, and later when we rendered the shadow maps for the lights, we begin rendering our main geometries with lighting information as well. For example, this is the floor, which we rendered with an ambient lighting, so it's quite dark at the beginning, but we will be rendering this piece of floor, for example, multiple times after this. And so, as we can see, the floor is somewhat getting lighted here, but let's wait just for that piece. So yes, that piece, as you can see, is rendered a couple more times for different lights, and it's quite an old school approach of rendering the lighting system, which unfortunately incurs additional render draw calls for the geometries, and each geometry is being rendered for every light affecting it, which can be quite expensive if we have multiple light sources. I have chosen this level because it just demonstrates quite nicely the lighting system, but apart from that it's quite a boring level really. Yes, additional shadow maps are generated for different lights. As you can see, our scene is nearly complete, but of course the player character's weapon is still pretty dark, which means we didn't render it for lighting yet, but now it's being lighted, as you can see. And our scene is nearly complete, what's left is rendering some particle systems on top. After the geometry passes, of course, have finished, and here we are already rendering some particles. These are camera facing quads, which are textured with a smoke texture. Here is a shot particle system as well being rendered, and our scene is nearly complete, but this is an additional post-processing step which renders the glow effect or bloom effect. It's blurring the bright parts of the scene and rendering on top of the scene, and also our scene is being tone mapped right in this pass. So as you can see, before this pass the scene is quite consists of vivid colors, which means these are HDR colors, and HDR colors needs to be remapped to the standard output of the monitor, which is called tone mapping. It's a full screen post-processing pass. And after the scene is rendered, we only need to render the GUI on top of it at the end of the frame, which is quite a straightforward process. Okay, so that was the rendering of Bioshock. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned if you did, and thanks for watching.